you give us a quick overview of yourself? And also, I'm curious, how did you end up in the world of retail media?
Yeah, so random kind of path. So I'm a chemical engineer by training, so definitely not a digital marketer as I started. About a decade ago, I got into selling on Amazon, built a brand there, started selling some products, and as I was doing that, found that you could advertise on Amazon. And this was way back in the early days. Fast forward about 10 years, there's been a ton of changes in the retail media space. A lot of ways that you can use retail media data, not just for selling on platforms like Amazon and Walmart, but for any brand. And so I run an agency that helps different brands utilize the retail marketing data that's available to you.
Amazing. So to kick things off, what are some of the trends you're seeing in the world of retail media, or even, I mean, among these different walled gardens?
Yeah, so one key trend that really has pushed retail media forward is privacy updates. So as I was going through the tunnel coming into Manhattan, saw a big billboard by Apple, and it said Safari is an actual private browser, or something like that. It said it a little bit better. And so one key shift is the iOS 14 update on iPhones. If you ever open up Facebook or install Instagram, like, you have to allow cross-tracking across your apps, and nobody does that. And so what this has done is it's really pushed advertising data to the source. And so it's become a lot more like first-party data-centric versus all these different trackers that used to be able to track you throughout the apps that you use, or cookies that track you throughout the web. Now it's going to who actually has the advertising data that you can then use to show the right people your ads. And retailers have a lot of awesome data. And so that's been one big shift that we've seen, which has pushed retail media to see some really incredible growth numbers. Digital advertising is going up, but if you look at retail media, it's going up a lot quicker. And so that's a key reason for that. Other shifts that we've seen is just in terms of measurement. Some big platforms pulling back what you can measure as a marketer, which sucks. Other different platforms are adding a lot more data. And on the retail side, they're really fighting for our ad dollars. And so we're seeing actually a lot more data that we can use and a lot more measurement that we can use. And then final major shift is just where consumers are spending their time and the ads that are truly effective for marketers. And so when you add all these three together, there's a lot of really cool pieces that we can tie together in the retail media space.
So if we start with that privacy note that you started with, what are some of the major shifts you've seen in privacy, and especially in the world of, I guess, both how a direct-to-consumer brand might operate, but also a retail brand that's trying to sell in stores?
Yeah, so if you compare different data sources as a marketer, so if we take like Meta, they're looking at your social browsing behavior, and now since they can't track you everywhere you go, they're just able to pull what you do on their site or on their app. And so that's an intent signal, but it's a little bit weaker. Now if you take it to something like Google, so you're doing a Google search and I'm looking for products, that's going to be a little bit closer to that intent signal on what I'm actually looking to purchase or what I'm interested in. What's really cool with the retail side is that I log into Amazon and they know every purchase I've made. And so they have really good insights on what I'm interested in, versus like Meta, it's trying to tie, what I do on Facebook or Instagram, what accounts I follow. And so the first-party data side is super interesting on Amazon. And one key thing that people miss, and we continue to have these conversations, I had it a couple times this morning, you do not need to sell on Amazon or Walmart to actually utilize this data. And so Amazon's got a big distribution network, just like Google does. And so you can show ads on weather.com and your favorite news site. Amazon is this big content producer, so Prime Video, they just introduced ads. So it used to be ad-free, now there's ads on it. Lots of different video placements. If you look at Amazon, they just added Thursday Night Football. They're getting NASCAR. They have different, I think they have the WNBA now. So they're adding all these different content sources, so when you stitch together this really awesome targeting you can do because you know truly what people are interested in. And then you combine that with all these really unique content placements for where you can show your ads. There's a lot of ways that you can leverage it if you sell on Amazon, and also if you don't sell on some of these retail channels, Amazon, Walmart, Target, et cetera.
And if you are or if you are not selling on Walmart or Amazon or any of these other networks and marketplaces, how can you still tap into this data?
Yeah, so a couple examples. We work with a company called Riley & Crew, and they sell more upscale kids clothing. So Amazon, Walmart, not good channels for them. But what we can do is we can find different people who have bought similar products on Amazon or Walmart, or search for them, or search for their brand and didn't find them on Amazon. Another cool case is we're talking with a synthetic oil producer. They're locally, I'm from northern Minnesota, they're in the northern Minnesota area. And they don't sell on Amazon, but there's some resellers who sell their products on Amazon. So we can find people who search for their brand name. We can find people who have bought their product on Amazon. And then we can show them ads on weather.com, on CNBC. We can show them video ads. And then we can direct them directly to their e-commerce site where they should be purchasing in the first place. Another example is it's not just physical products. Just think of all the insights that a company like Amazon or Walmart has on you. So we've worked with a major insurance provider. You would definitely recognize their ads. And due to purchases, we can tell when people have bought a house. Or it gets pretty simple. Amazon you update your address and where you're shipping to. So that's a really good indication that you just moved. Well, you're probably looking for home insurance. So let's advertise on these sites off of Amazon and show different home insurance ads. We ran it for this big insurer on a cost per acquisition basis for a quote form sign up. It was an order of magnitude better than other programmatic advertising buys. And the key reason was we were able to show the ad to the right people at the right time due to this first-party data that we got from the retail side.
Wow, that is, I would have never thought about that. That's that's smart. What are some other examples of direct-to-consumer brands who've leveraged these networks with you in the past?
Let's see, for direct-to-consumer, some other interesting insights that you can implement is I can take my customer list that comes direct to my site, and I can use this, it's called a data clean room. So I can input a customer list that I have into Amazon, and then I can do lookalike audiences and really compare, if anybody who's used other platforms, you can generate these lookalike audiences based off of hash lists. But what's really cool at the retail side is, again, you look at the wealth of information that somebody like Amazon has. And when we've done this and we find, all right, here's the whole list, here's the most loyal customers you've had, we upload it into this data clean room, it spits out what the ideal customer avatar is who purchased from the site. And we found a ton of unique audiences or different segments of people that we didn't initially think of that now we can run ads for. And so there's a lot of really cool ways that you can take these lists from off of Amazon. Email lists would be another way. If you want to really see what your audience is into, you can upload it to this data clean room and get a lot more information and insights. And all these pieces really help with the intent signals and the targeting that you have for your ads overall. So again, if we're going to spend advertising dollars, resources are limited. Let's show the right ads to the right people at the right time. Again, these retail insights allow us to do that.
And for a strategy like this with the programmatic, do you think of this as a strategy to couple on to Meta and Google and the other networks, or do you see this as a successful isolated strategy as well?
I would say both. Yep, and it depends on where your brand is at. If you're a e-commerce brand just selling on, say, like Amazon, Walmart, Target, this is a great, more upper funnel play. But if you are utilizing those other platforms, I would say this is definitely worth testing out. And I would start small, just like we do with any advertising budget, and you can see the results from it. But we've had a lot of people who have shifted budget from, say, like Meta or Google, and one of the key reasons is that we're seeing data and measurement opportunities being stripped away on those platforms. Or in the case like Meta, they're losing a lot of audience or customer data just by these different privacy updates. And so the whole industry is really pushing to who has the information. And when you're logged in, the retailers now have the information, and they have really high margins on advertising compared to the margins you'd get selling in Walmart. So they have really high incentive to try to push this as much as they can.
And you mentioned budget. So from a budget standpoint, where do you find a good test to test these channels? So if I'm spending, a few $100,000 a month on other digital channels, where do you think is a good investment to start here, where I would see somewhat of a return or get that confidence to spend more?
Yeah. If you start with 10 to 20 grand a month and just start with some more targeted strategies, you're going to get more than enough information to be able to tell if this is working or if it's not, and be able to double down. Some other ways to look at this too is if you are doing more upper funnel brand advertising, like say like video ads. One key thing that's changing in the market is, as marketers, we traditionally look at our brand advertising and our performance marketing. And those are being compressed as the customer journey is really changing. And so there's a couple other key factors that are also changing in the space right now is, like with Prime Video, I can show an ad, and in that ad, I can have an add to cart button right there, or I can have another action. And so what's really cool is I can take this ad that's traditionally very upper funnel, and I can turn it into a lower funnel tactic where they click add to cart, and when they do that, it gets added to cart, my phone vibrates, it's already in my cart, I pull up the Amazon app, and I purchase. And so what we're seeing as we track the customer journey overall is it's not linear anymore, where you go from this upper funnel, like brand video ad, and then you go to a display ad, and then you go to the source, and you go to a sponsored ad or a search ad, and you purchase. We're seeing where you can really take performance marketing metrics and KPIs and apply them much further up the funnel. So it makes it more complex in how you look at these different ad types. But at the same time, if I can generate a sale directly from what I would consider more of a brand play, like that's awesome. And so with these different types of ads that we're seeing, now the customer journey, it's being compressed completely. And as marketers, we have to navigate through that.
I'm curious, like when I think of running ads with Walmart or Amazon, most of it that comes to mind is like sponsored listings. You mentioned there's this programmatic network that Amazon taps into. What are some of the other examples of ad units that you're able to tap into with your clients?
Yeah, so it's not just Amazon. And so what's cool as a marketer is that all these different retailers are trying to find new revenue streams. And so if we look at other retailers like Walmart or like CVS or Walgreens, or you can go down the list, they're either creating their own retail media networks or they're tapping into other programmatic providers. So like a lot of these different retailers will feed their data into like the trade desk. And so I could take advertising data, shopping insights from say like Walmart, and then I can create an audience on the people that I want to target because they're going to be interested in my ads. And then I can use a programmatic source like the trade desk to be able to show those ads throughout. We have tech that we are able to kind of stitch a lot of these together and simplify the process. Like one key issue with going to all these first-party data sources is you now have all these major silos. Before, when you could track everybody everywhere, attribution was a lot easier. Now it's, if I show a Amazon video ad and then they purchase in store, they come to my Shopify site, or maybe they go into a Walmart store and then purchase my product, it gets a lot more difficult to try to track that and put it all together. But from these individual signals that we can get just within the channels themselves, Like, yeah, attribution is tough as a marketer, but if they come through any of these retailers, or with my Shopify site, I have my whole customer list, you can feed that back into these data clean rooms to try to tie the data together. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's still gonna provide us the signals. All right, is this ad strategy, is this customer journey working? Or should I shift my budget elsewhere?
One common thought people have is as soon as you start advertising on a platform, you get none of the organic benefits to that. Do you see that to be true?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So there's two different cases. One, we're working with a company who sells granola. On Walmart, they were originally at like 3 to 4% of market share. We started pushing really hard on the sponsored side, and by the end of that campaign, we were up to, I believe, about 30% in terms of market share for a very general term like granola. So in many of these platforms, it's actually pay to play, because you generate more sales velocity, that sales velocity comes through, and now when I do that search, now organically, they determine that my product's gonna be a better fit. The downside is, say I do some brand advertising, so I defend my brand. Somebody searches for my brand, I show up first, I'm gonna cannibalize organic sales. And so there's ways that you can track market share percentage if I do brand advertising and I don't. We were working with a supplement company called True Niagen. We've had a lot of success with them, and one of the key case studies that we did for them was, let's not defend True Niagen. And we're gonna track market share percentage for the term True Niagen. If market share percentage doesn't go down much, but we saved a ton of spend, now we can move that spend towards more general terms, which are truly gonna drive that new to brand growth versus just cannibalizing and taking credit for those branded terms. If you just look strictly at ROAS, those branded terms look great, because they're just taking credit for sales that would have happened anyways, versus if I can shift that budget into more general terms, that's where the new to brand growth is gonna be, and that's what we're trying to do as advertisers, is to drive sales that would not have happened without our ads.
Could you define the term new to brand?
Yeah, so our definition in terms of new to brand is they haven't purchased in the last 365 days. You could do new to brand if you can take it back further, but our traditional metric that we're using on the platforms is no purchase within the last 365 days.
And the reason I ask is I haven't seen that term before, but I know it's a term that's used a lot in retail media.
Yeah.
When you're running campaigns, what's a healthy number for new to brand that you like to see in your campaigns?
Yeah, that totally depends. So I'll give it a case. So back to True Niagen, the supplement brand. With supplements, there's a really high lifetime value. So if you can drive that initial purchase, people come back and they typically repeat purchase. And so for them, when we're looking at new to brand growth, it really depends on the strategy itself. So if I'm targeting True Niagen as the brand, that may have a much lower new to brand growth versus if I type in anti-aging supplement. And so the further up the funnel you get, like the higher new to brand growth or the higher new to brand percentage you should see. And what's really fun with these data clean rooms is for like True Niagen, we were able to do video ads and then display ads, and then we have sponsored ads layered on top. There's a lot of different customer journeys that the customer can take to find that product. So we were able to layer all these customer journeys together and then track what's driving the highest new to brand growth and what's driving it at the lowest cost per acquisition. And then once you get that initial customer, now what's driving the highest lifetime value overall. And so when you combine those factors together, you can really find the sweet spot where we found a couple customer journeys that initially we weren't too hot on, but really turned out to be great new to brand drivers that also led to really loyal customers. And so that's what's driven a lot of this sales growth over time for them, is just continually finding these customers who are gonna be the ideal fit and drive that new to brand growth.
And last question for you. There's a room full of brands here who are all acquiring customers on a daily basis. You have a very different perspective coming from the retail media world than I think most of us who are in Facebook and Google, et cetera. What are some key takeaways you would offer to the brands in the room around what you do?
I think the main key thing is don't think I don't sell on Amazon, I don't sell on Walmart, I don't sell on Target, so I can't use this. You can. And so if you're a service business, if you have a Shopify store, if you just sell direct to the customer, B2B, any of these different verticals, you can utilize this data. So what I would say, like, let's talk and brainstorm. Like, it's really, there's a lot of really cool ways you can utilize this data. And so what I would say, lean in on the retail side, really test it out, try it out, or some of your competition will. This space is really picking up, and there's a lot of awesome ways that we can use it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.